Hi guys, welcome back to Motorhome Adventures. We've been doing some French prep, haven't we?
Oh yes, French prep, and we've got some to do today. Well, at least I'm going out into the cold yonder to ride Peggy the scooter over to Swansea to get a service. The first service, not on 500 miles, a little bit less than that, but a service nonetheless to get her ready for heading over the water. Yes, or under the water, yeah.
Yeah, and while you're riding in the cold, I'll be putting the kettle on.
Oh, right. Okay for some, isn't it? Right.
I did offer to go, but he refused.
Right, follow us on, off to Swansea.
For a service on the scooter.
And here we go, down in Port Talbot, all the way across here, because there and there we've got Kickstart Motorcycles. So this is of course where Peggy the scooter started her life, at Kickstart. Paul and Charles, who look after Kickstart here in Port Talbot, were absolutely great. Showed us all the detail, all the ins and outs of the Lexmoto Pegasus that we got, and were an absolute mine of information in respect of the buying process and which scooter might be best, and carrying it on a trailer, and really all the information we could have wanted. So it was a very useful visit here. Of course, if you're thinking about the scooter process, we're a sort of 60-70 odd miles from here, but if you're thinking about perhaps trailering a scooter or getting a scooter for your motorhome, then I'm sure Paul or Charles would field any of the questions you might have about the process. And they also of course did us a good deal on the scooter that we got. So do give them a shout if you've got any questions, or of course put them in the comments below if you've got any direct questions for us about the about buying the Pegasus. But certainly Paul and Charles will be able to answer any of your questions about buying a used or new scooter for your motorhome. And then what also brought us here was we've only got about 300 miles on it, but because we're off down south of France, Mediterranean way, we thought we'd get the first service done, which is due at round about 500 miles, oil change, usual thing, filters, stuff like that. So we thought we'd pop here early as we're going in the next 10 days or so. So the servicing as well is done here. So it's not only the buying, but it's all the aftercare service as well that you can have done here at Kickstart. And so this is where she is. She's getting her first service up on the ramps, and it's an oil drop out there, change of oil. Just been getting some grease on the side stand, but a hive of activity in here as she gets looked after before heading for the south of France, where hopefully you'll be able to see her disappearing up the Alps on some of those fantastic zigzaggy roads with myself and Nikki. So they come into Exeter from China, they're distributed around the dealers from there. The dealers themselves they sort of come in crates, so the dealers do a lot of the assembly as well, so they know the bikes inside out. So the likes of Paul and Charles here at Kickstart would be responsible for putting a lot of the bits together again, but also of course that gives them really good knowledge that if there are any issues or anything that you need specifically on the service, they would certainly have the knowledge then to get in and about the bike and take them apart and sort out any of those teething issues that you may have. But touch wood, we've not had a single issue yet with her, so hopefully long may that continue. But it's certainly pretty reassuring, even though we're 50 or 60 miles away from Kickstart, it's certainly reassuring that we can just pick the phone up and all pop over here and get anything that we need sorted out by those that do know their way around the Lexmoto Pegasus. And they're pretty straightforward to work on. It's a water cooled bike, so the water tank is actually just under there, under the forward footrest. And then Paul here is just taking out the filter, oil filter, which gets a swap early on. And again, the panels, this side panel here, just fits on the side there. It's just a straightforward sort of 6 bolts. that drop off. That then gets you access into the filter, the oil filler. They're all pretty straightforward to work on. I have to say, after 40 odd years owning bikes, anything from 125 to 1500cc plus, then this is one of the most straightforward bikes I've actually owned, because it's just a couple of bolts here and there and you can get to all the main bits and pieces, and it makes working on them really quite straightforward. Of course, to keep the warranty, it's a 2-year parts and label warranty on Lexmoto, so to ensure that you keep that warranty, then obviously it's important for the dealer has to be the one that does any of the servicing and stamps the book to ensure you obviously keep the integrity of that warranty. But once it's of course outside the warranty, then yes, you could still come back to somewhere like this at Kickstart, or of course, because it's pretty straightforward, you could actually do some of the work yourself and maintain it yourself. So you know, both are pretty viable options. There we go, little new oil filter going in there, tiny little thing, and then round this side is the air filter coming out. Get a new air filter as well. Again, just 4 or 5 screws, and off it comes. Simple to work with. And there we go. There's the air filter taken off. So again, pretty straightforward to get to. Little gasket that goes around the edge there. Just above the exhaust there. These are the little footrests that pop out for your pillion. Really nicely set back there. 47 years doing this, Paul.
Yeah.
Makes you a youngster, that's for sure. How can you still look so young after 47 years,
Thank
eh?
you very much, sir.
It's the Welsh air, isn't it?
Sure will be just the cost of your service, we'll say that.
It's the Welsh air, man. It's the Welsh air.
Gotta be.
Yeah. So that's another good reason to come and see Paul and Charles. 47 years. 47 years. This isn't Charles. Charles is over in the shop the other way, but 47 years looking after these bikes of many a brand and type, then you know you're in good hands. So that's the new filter gone back in. Spring loaded just behind the cover there. So if you're taking your filter out yourself, then just be ready for that spring that will pop out as you take the cover off. And then the air filter's just gone back on here. Gasket redone, and how many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 screws for that. So again, nice and straightforward. The difference in indicators as well, tiny little things. My first ever bike was a Honda CB125. And that had indicators that stuck out, and if you caught them they were damaged or cracked, whereas that, look at that, rubber mounted, can take a knock or two without affecting it at all. Clever design, and another good little addition. We had this little top box fitted as well. It takes a single helmet, but also of course under the seat here, the seat lifts up, hinges back here, lifts right up, and there's space underneath the seat for two helmets as well. But certainly a single one in there, and then they swap to get this box mount on. They swap out, put this new set of new box carrier on, and you can get a number of different size boxes on the top here, even ones that will take a couple of helmets. The lights on them all as well are all sort of LED based, unlike those years ago, my old Hondas that needed to dig deep and find little tiny replacement bulbs and God knows what. These are all LEDs, daytime running lights permanently on the front there when you're riding, with a main beam and a just up here, with a main beam and a dip beam and a pass facility, a light flash, and a a new drink of oil as well. That'll get us up and down the Alps, Paul.
Certainly will.
Bit of 1040, straightforward 1040, and there's the little oil filter, high flow filter. And look, good to see, over all those decades of owning bikes, Silcoline, that has and still is going. Good old 1040 motorcycle oil. Can't go wrong with that stuff. Get a bit of Silcoline in your tank. Started again, all sounds fine. Especially after that lovely drink of oil. And we'll just check that all the discs are okay, the pads are okay. Yeah. So it's a real thorough check over at this sort of first service level, just to make sure everything is tickety-boo. And then because it's a water-cooled engine, then just under here, a little indicator there which gives us our water level. And again, first service checks, just going to make sure everything's topped up and where it should be. I'm just getting torqued back up again. Everything tickety-boo on the discs. So I'm being well looked after for my trip back to Tenby with a lovely fresh drink of oil and filter. Everything checked over, greased up, ready for France. So first service done. Quick test ride from the staff here to make sure everything is together well before I'll be heading for Tenby. But before I do, I'm going to show you into the shop as well, show you some of the Lexmotos in there and some of the other models to the Pegasus that you might want to consider if you're thinking about getting a scooter for your motorhome. And then just got an ignition position here where then you've got a fuel and a seat switch there. So we pop the fuel button just to there. That gives you access to your fuel filler. And then similarly, when it's on that setting, if you just press the seat button and then just lift up there, you can see you've got storage for 2 helmets. They supply you with a little toolkit at the back there. Gas strut assisted, so it obviously helps lift itself. Ready for France. A couple of high-vis vests needed in case we end up at the side of the road. Need to be able to put on some high-vis, but and of course a sun hat for me. Being an ex-redhead with very little hair left, needs sun factor million or a hat, one or the other. So yeah, it's a good little run around this one, and is the perfect partner for your motorhome, I reckon. As we're hopefully going to be finding out very soon. So with the servicing over that side, then pop over this side and you're into the showroom where there are many and varied fantastic machines. Look at this for a 125, eh? That's a Lexmoto as well. 125, sort of matte red finish, very nice too. But I had to show you these. Look at these two. Over here, they are brand new. They're the last 2 UK built Nortons that you could find. Obviously a lot of it's now owned out east, parts India way, but these 2 were actually assembled here in the good old UK and are actually the last 2 you would find of that nature anywhere in the UK. Aren't they fab, eh? Nortons. A beaut of a commando. Look at that, 961 Sport. Hence of course the Union Jacks on the side as well. Absolute crackers. So if you really wanted to treat yourself in your motorhome, then that that would be one hell of an addition. I'd be too worried to trail that. Put it on a trailer. I'd want to wrap it up in cotton wool. But over this side, these are some of the 50s. So here at Kickstart, they supply Lexmoto motorcycles, but the other brand as well that they deal with is Nico. Just there, NECO. So Nico are a Belgian company. Now what they do, it's like Lexmoto. Lexmoto, I say they're Chinese, but the company is based in the UK, and what they do is they build a specification of bike that they want built, and of course the Chinese are the ones that then provide that specification and price it and are able to do it for the price that that Lexmoto want. So China build for not only Nico, who are Belgian, for Lexmoto, who are English, but also other companies who send their specifications to the Chinese factories, who then make the bikes. So so obviously the Nico is, the parts are all taken back to Belgium and it's then assembled in Belgium, whereas the Lexmoto comes part assembled back into Exeter in the UK, where they're then finished off by the various dealers, as I touched on earlier. But so the upshot of all that is they're a really good bunch of motorcycles for exactly what we bought it for, which was of course putting on the trailer and taking to southern France, because they're relatively light. They're certainly good price. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is a 50, but 1,800 quid. This one here, this Nico, is just 2,100 quid, and really ideal for absolutely ideal because of their relative lightweight of getting on the trailer that you saw us popping our Pegasus on, the transverse load there. This one as well, this is actually an electric one as well. So both electric and engine powered. Ours obviously run the Lexmoto. The Pegasus runs on unleaded petrol. But look at some of these, brand new, 1,800 quid. You know, and it's a really nice looking little bike, that. Really nice looking, step through scooter type. Another style of Nico there, which again is a 50. Up around the 2k mark. But I mean, this has got, you know, from a distance you'd think it would be a Vespa or a Lambretta, that. Although I'm sure you Vespa and Lambretta owners will be shouting at me for suggesting that it looks the same, but but you take my point. It does look similar, but nicely styled as well for a scooter. Nicely styled little scooters. You could of course get a complete package, because not only do they do the bikes, but some really nice clothing as well here. In fact, I need to see if I can find some CE approved gloves. I noticed that scootering in France, one of the requirements was that you had on your hands some CE approved gloves, and I think my current ones haven't got a CE mark, so I'll probably just do belt braces and get some, which because my current ones haven't got, in fact look, there's a pair, my current ones haven't got the knuckle protection on them, so, and I think that's what the CE approved mark will do, so perhaps grab some before I leave after the service. But you can see they've got a fair selection of clothing as well, of leathers, of lighter weight. In fact, these very coats here are the ones that we bought from Paul and Charles here. Did us a great deal on some extras. They got a zippable out lining, reinforcing in the shoulders, elbows, all that sort of thing, and a really nice jacket for our little scoot. But then of course you can go to the full-on leather jackets, and of course you waterproof some weather protection, albeit I have to say I have no intention of riding Peggy the scooter in the rain if I can possibly avoid it. Gone are my days of rain and snow riding, without a doubt. any shape and type of clothing, helmets of course as well, your scooters, or of course the motorbike style if you didn't fancy the sort of step through scooter version, but just about anything you can want if you're going to get your motorhome set up for a bit of scoot travel. And it's like an Aladdin's cave this is. We head on through. Look at this. Even more bits and pieces, more leathers. Now Kickstart are also KSM Motorcycles, which is or KSM Team, which is part of the British Superbike Superstock series of racing teams. So they love their bikes, and more especially they love their racing. So do look out for KSM on the British Superbikes if you like watching your Superstock racing. Must say I've watched it for decades, certainly British Superbike for decades as well. Fantastic spectacle. So we've got a real history in motorbikes here at Kickstart, and that's partly why we also chose to come here, because it is just completely, in fact there we go, look, KSM, it is completely steeped in motorbikes here. And so if there was the slightest thing that I couldn't deal with or work out for myself, then I know that Paul and Charles, who have, gosh, coming up 50 years now, who have looked after Kickstart and built a very successful company here that's managed to make it through thick and thin, and long may that continue, then they will certainly look after me and Peggy the scooter if we needed their help. Few bits and pieces and parts, and of course if for any of your spare part needs, then Charles, who looks after all of the business here, he can also order and get in very quick time any parts that you might need, be it for a Lexmoto, be it for your Nico, or indeed any other bike parts. So they are a supplier of many and varied things, and a really great little setup here. So all that's left for me to do is to go and give Peggy the scoot a quick ride up the road, make sure everything's tickety-boo before we leave here, and before we wend our way the 50-60 odd miles back to Tenby, before any of those clouds get more threatening. Albeit I have to say I wouldn't have even thought about riding it here if the forecast wasn't good. So touch wood, the forecast's good, and it's going to be a nice sunny day, or remaining a nice sunny day for my trip back to Tenby. So anyway, if there's any if you've got any questions or any interest in acquiring a scooter for your motorhome or otherwise, then do give Paul or Charles here a ring. I'll put the contact details up on the screen if you wanted to make contact, or of course if you've got any questions for us, myself and Nikki, about trailering the scooter on the motorhome, or indeed any other part of the buying process, then do get in touch with us. Oh, there's my keys coming back as well. Thank you indeed, Paul, that's fantastic. Then do get in touch here with Paul or Charles, who will certainly look after you well.
That was cool, wasn't it? You learnt about the first service on the bike, which is really good.
And learnt that even though the sun's out, it's still pretty fresh. Bring on France is what I say.
Absolutely, but we've got a nice scooter now, all watered up and
oiled, watered, the lot, TLC'd,
whatever,
the lot.
It's been done.
All that as well. Right, see you on the road in France very soon. See you guys.
Bye.
Take care.